Hi everyone, this is going to be a video about this upcoming full moon in Libra and spring equinox occurring both on the 20th of March 2019. Essentially, when we look at the spring equinox and full moon in Libra energy on the 20th of March 2019, what we see in the planets from the evolutionary astrological paradigm is, of course, we begin with Pluto. We begin with Pluto because this is the unconscious, this is the underworld. This is where the desires and that strong, silent, powerful, pervasive impulse, desire is always emanating from Pluto. We see Pluto conjunct the South Node in Saturn. Really briefly, for some of you that don't know, this is an energy that's been going on for all of 2019 that reflects the disintegration and the restructuring and the transformation and rebirth that's going on in the spheres of our lives, where we are establishing who we are in the world. Whether you're a healer, you're an artist, you're an entrepreneur, you're a creative, like whatever you're manifesting into in culture and society, this is that rebirth going on. The letting go of the old paradigm and the reestablishing of a new is that Capricorn stellium going on for all of 2019. So this is where Pluto is at during the spring equinox of 2019, reflecting that this next year, this next relationship between the Earth and the Sun is that of actualizing this archetypical, desire, this evolutionary intention to establish our authority, our power within society and culture, Capricorn. And this is all going through a transformation and rebirth process. And we're letting go of old karmic patterns in that sphere of our lives. Now, while this is an energy that's been going on for all of 2019, what's really interesting to note is that we actually have Mars in Taurus forming a harmonious trine with Pluto and the South Node. And this is incredibly important as well because, well, the spring equinox happens with the Sun moving into Aries. Aries is the energy of following our instinct, following our impulse, following that new urge to explore something new about ourselves. It's that creative fire that's not very self-defined. Let's remember that Leo is a self-expressed, I know myself, I know my purpose type of an energy, very fixed fire energy. Aries, on the other end, is more of this here 1 second, gone the next, more of this instinctive, impulsive, spontaneous, starting of a fire, starting of a new cycle energy that's not very clearly self-defined. So in Aries, there's always this urge, this creative, impulsive instinct to discover oneself, to try new things. So Sun, Chiron conjunct in Aries, it's us rediscovering something new about ourselves that correlates to the Chiron archetype, which is that of a healer, of a subtle energy worker, of someone that heals these subtle energies and the blockages within, that works with the etheric body of oneself, and that then learns how to work with the universal collective etheric energies within the collective and becomes an example of that. So this energy that's in Aries is important and correlated, connected to this Mars in Taurus trine Pluto conjunct the South Node. From the evolutionary perspective, what this essentially reflects is that during this spring equinox, there's a birthing of the new divine masculine energy. This is Aries energy that's manifesting this new re-emergence of the healer within, Chiron. This is a subtle energy worker that's a centaur, half human, half animal, representing the aspect of consciousness that's seeking, like a centaur, to release itself from its lower nature. How did Chiron do it in mythology? Through learning the creative arts like poetry, like music, but also the healing arts like acupuncture, like astrology, like, Reiki, like working with crystals, working with herbs, working with herbology, essential oils. It's all that working with the subtle etheric body and energies that help you clear blockages within that etheric body that then alleviate and assist helping clear the trauma in the physical body. This is Chiron energy, the healer within emerging. And this, with Aries being ruled by Mars trining harmonizing with Pluto, the desires deep within the soul, is essentially reflecting that it is time for the healers to emerge. And you are now, you know, in alignment with this. Basically, it's time for you to manifest and come into being. Basically, culture, society has been going through this integration, as we've seen. And now we can almost say it's at this ground zero. Uranus and Taurus reflects, like Uranus does, the new creativity, the new creative genius, the new progressions and revolutions that will be happening are very down to earth, practical, and have to do with our values, Taurus. This is Uranus and Taurus. For the next 7 years, we're revolutionizing what our values are. And so, you know, with all that rebirth and transformation going in Capricorn, which typically reflects the status quo, is going through disintegration, its own rebirth and transformation, and this Sun, Chiron, and, you know, in Aries conjunction, symbolizing that this re-emergence of this instinctive impulse to embody the healer energy, the subtle energy worker energy, and the archetype within our community and as individuals is all reflecting that, like, it's time to emerge as a healer within. You know, culture and society is now at ground zero, we can say. We're reestablishing our values and our value systems in the very progressive and creative, innovative ways. And with this Chiron reemergence, it's now the time for those energy workers to come and step forward and to set an example for how to operate within this new paradigm. From the evolutionary perspective, another point to look at is what we call in astrology the North Node. So what's really important to note about this spring equinox energy is that while the South Node conjuncts Pluto, the Pluto polarity point, which reflects the evolutionary intention of the soul, Pluto polarity point in Cancer, is also conjunct the North Node in Cancer. So essentially, Cancer is becoming an incredibly important archetype within the collective. And what is Cancer? Cancer is the archetype of the crab. This is essentially the fourth sign of the zodiac, ruled by the moon. What it reflects is the most sensitive center within. It is the receptive center within the heart. It is the inner child. So essentially the evolutionary path, North Node, and evolutionary intention, the Pluto polarity point in Cancer, reflect that there's a need to provide our own emotional security from within. Essentially, Cancer is the sign of the crab because the crab carries its home on its back and will be at home wherever it's at. And it is a creature that can both walk in water or be at home in the emotions and feelings, or it can both walk on land and can be at home within the more practical, down-to-earth, practical, real world, right? So the ability, the evolutionary need and intention to supply that emotional security from within and mature and become responsible for our own feelings and desires and emotions is essentially the evolutionary lessons of this North Node and Pluto polarity point in Cancer. And essentially it's pointing to what's incredibly important during this next revolution around the Earth, going around the sun.